All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of This Week in Charts via Carnivore Trades and Wall Street for Main Street. Starting off with the S&P 500, we can see we had a down week this week. We did have quad witch options X, which is now over with. Markets were kind of all over the map. Started off flattish to negative, gapped down Tuesday, had a rally off of the Fed on Wednesday, gapped up Thursday, reversed all those gains, and then finished lower on Friday here, testing the 50 moving average and filling this gap here on the daily time frame. Ultimately, it's important not to make too much out of options X week. There was a little bit of bearish sentiment going out this week, and rightfully so. The market was very weak overall throughout the trading week. But with options X, sometimes you have to take that with a grain of salt. A lot of stocks that were beaten down got bids, and a lot of stocks that were really overbought came in. Look at Apple here. So a lot of call buying in Apple earlier on in the week. Those calls got flushed out. We've seen stocks like SE, these high flyers. Look at this come off the highs here. We got Crocs here. Look how far that came off the highs. Netflix, Target. So some of these high flyers coming in. And then you had stocks like Verizon. By the way, we with the patron members on Carnivore Trades, we took some call options here, took 14% on these ones. But again, a really beaten up stock here. Verizon, these telecom stocks, AT&T, T-Mobile, very beaten up. They get a bid. So you see the kind of the nature of the game. You got the Roku's of the world, even AMC. So the meme's getting a bid a little bit here. But the beaten up names tend to get a bid, and the overbought names, tend to come back to earth. And that's just the nature of the beast with options X. Overall, the week, was bearish. We did finish lower. If we look on the spiders here, it was a little weaker. But options X tends to do that. And typically the week after options X is usually a bit of a relief week. You can see the red lines here represent the options X, and we kind of trade down into it, and then we kind of rally afterwards. So wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit more upside next week as we get into the holiday period. Typically volume tends to lighten up during the holiday period as closer you get to the holidays, and that generally bodes to a anemic and kind of neutral upside market. So we talked about the spiders filling the gap. Diamond here, Dow Jones filled its gap on the daily, so that level has been satisfied. You can see the IWM here also. It's come way off the highs, and it is in a weak technical position, but take a look here. It's had a lot of volatility at this 213 to 220 level. And that's typically what equities do when they're trying to put in a bottom. Look at the volume here especially. Now I still think ultimately the Russell does head lower, but it is probably trying to put in some type of a short-term bottom here. So a lot of volatility there. And Russell actually was green today in a down market. The weak link, in my opinion, and I've said this for a while, is the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq erased. If we take a look on the intraday, just the hourly here. This is where the Nasdaq was trading before the Fed announcement. We had that blast off, and it actually closed below that area. It took out all of last week's lows here at one point today. So the Nasdaq is the weak link, and that continues to be the case. And I've said that tech will probably be the weak link moving forward, and that has been the case lately. Now, a lot of things are kind of coming on sale here. There's been a lot of tech stocks that have been beaten up, but we still have, again, the Apples of the world, the Microsofts that are still, holding up relatively well. And, they're not that far off of their highs. So there is, room for downside in those names. However, some other tech names may end up getting a bid and kind of replace that. You have like an Adobe here that's been absolutely slaughtered over the last month or so. So that's probably due for a technical bounce. Here cutting through that 200 moving average, you have this pivot here. So some of these stocks that have been beaten up really bad, while Apple has kind of propped the market up, could give the Nasdaq a bit of a bounce. But in any case, so the big news for on my front here is I do have some major cycles going on next week. Patrons in my group are going to get that first, obviously, but you guys know that I've had a few cycle dates come out earlier this year, and they've been correct. It's really just been the depth that has been kind of unpredictable. We got one up in May, we had another one in June, July, and we had one in September, but the depth of the correction hasn't been exactly what we've been looking for, although this particular week I think is a much more major cycle. So that is on tap. But outside of that, let's go, review a few sectors here. So let's start with the financials. So financials are weak. Again, you guys know I've been really cautious with this market this year. And I'm not liking this pattern here on the XLF. A pretty weak close on Friday. I've been watching JP Morgan very closely. This one's kind of putting in this sort of bear base on the daily, closing below the 200 moving average again. And this looks like it wants to trade down to 150. You'll have a short pit stop at 152, 153, but all this consolidation here makes me think it can get through this level pretty easily. It's not a good sign to see the financials lagging. Goldman here hasn't triggered yet, but a potential head and shoulder there on Goldman. Bank of America. So some of these stocks, these financial stocks, have been weak, and you never want to see that. I know there's a lot of people who think we're pushing to all-time highs, and we very well may, but the financial stocks are definitely an area you don't want to see being a laggard, and that has been the case lately. Let's take a look at the Dow Transports really quickly. So Dow Transports, holding up, having kind of a bit of a rollover, but nothing really major, nothing really wrong with the technical picture on the Dow Transports. But if they take out this pivot and they close below these moving averages, the 100 and 200, it's going to be a pretty ugly picture. Also, you guys know I always harp on the semiconductors. They're holding trend for now, but if they lose this 50 moving average, they're probably going to go right back up to that 277 area. And we watch those semiconductors for a leading indicator. If they start to break down, then tech will likely break down with it. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. So I believe Bitcoin probably gets a bid next week. This is just my hunch here. It looks like it was sold off and pushed down into OPEX week. And you can see here, ever since really that big bear attack on Bitcoin a week or two ago, it's kind of just held this really tight range. They tried to break it down a few times. It's held up. This to me suggests it's being held down due to the options X, which obviously is over with now. So I think that whoever was shorting it to keep it in this range will probably be able to cover those, and that should probably give Bitcoin a bid. Maybe it gets up to that 55 handle. You've got this gap to fill here on the daily from the breakdown, so there's going to be some upside there, but it wouldn't surprise me to have Bitcoin get a bid. Also, I checked the commitment of traders, and retail traders added some short contracts, net short. They're not net short, but they did add more short contracts than longs, and institutional traders actually removed more short contracts this past week. So that is a bullish indicator for Bitcoin moving forward. So maybe Bitcoin gets a little bit of a bid after coming pretty sharply off the highs. Let's talk about gold here. So gold caught a bid this week again, going back to the same theme. Beaten down names tend to get a bid, and vice versa. Gold had a decent day Thursday. Not the best look Friday. You'd like to see a little bit more follow through. The problem I have with gold right now is this monthly time frame. So you had this push up, reversed that, and now you're kind of consolidating inside of this red candle. So that's just not really a good look here. You don't want to see this kind of inside bar bearish consolidation on the monthly. Now, if again, I've maintained this, if gold can get back above this trend line, all of this changes, and gold is in full bull mode. But until then, gold, I think, is just going to be under pressure here. I know Jason's talked on the channel about tax loss selling. There's been a lot of the gold stocks have been hit because of that. So, until either we get a break of this trend line, or we really get, gold, if it, does break down below these levels at some point, again, it's still kind of just stuck in this range. Let's look at silver. Silver also weak, but getting a bid again. Another beat up thing that is getting bids. So again, same theme here. You do have a potential for a little, you did hold this double bottom. If we look at the weekly chart, this is a little premature. I don't want to get anybody excited, but if you trade up here, and this can really have some follow through, and you can get back above this 20 and 100 week moving average on a weekly closing basis, you could make a case that you have a W bottom. But it's premature. It hasn't happened yet, so let's not get too excited. But that is a pretty powerful pattern when it does show up. So I just wanted to point that out there. Just keep an eye on that. But ultimately, again, silver just in this range. We talked about copper last week. The copper just continues. Look at what copper's doing. So it's just continuing to hold this green inside bar, which is bullish. I'm almost actually about to jump on copper at this point myself. I love when you have a test candle where we break through an inside bar bullish pattern and then they close it back above. That's a really bullish signal there for copper. So copper may want to have one more move up in it. So keep that on your radar there, but just wanted to continue to cover that just because I think this is a fascinating chart here. Let's talk Palladium really fast. Look at that tail candle on Palladium. So Palladium probably put in a short-term bottom, maybe even a medium to long-term bottom. You went down here, tested the March lows. This should have been a bearish pattern. It started to break down and then it's reversed. So if you get back above these highs here, platinum probably goes up to that 2000, or excuse me, palladium goes up to that 2000 handle. But nice little reversal there for palladium. Platinum, still in the camp. We've got one more dip there, and I do have a level already worked out. Once it gets down there, we will probably get in. Maybe with a PPLT or something like that. That's just an ETF that tracks platinum. Anyways, let's scan through here. Oh, by the way, I know Jason likes this one a lot. So Sprott Inc. Notice how Sprott Inc. is holding up, compared to the miners and so on, GDX. So again, a really well-run company that is just holding up here. And this has been a pretty good hedge. I mean, just, if you're just a regular investor and you like, owning a diversified basket, I mean, this is a pretty good hedge to, a lot of different things. But Sprott Inc., I like, nothing wrong with the technical pattern here. Yeah, I just wanted to cover that there, but this has definitely outperformed the mining sector. Let's talk quickly about Turkey, because this is, Turkey's not a huge, it's a big country, and it is kind of, it is a gateway to Europe in many respects. It's not like as big as Russia or something, obviously, but the Turkish lira is absolutely in free fall, and I mean, this is just like an ETF for Turkey's stock market here that, it's ADR, but losing this double bottom here, this thing is absolutely getting pounded. The lira, I've had people ask me hey, can you chart the lira? Not really. It's just a parabolic move. It looks like this. It's just completely, the dollar is just completely, it's parabolic versus the lira. So that, can be something that we need to pay attention to here. Turkey's not a small country. Again, it's not as big as Japan or something like that, but this is something that the markets may focus on if things boil over. So let's just talk about, I just wanted to bring that up anyway, but let's just talk about crude. So I want to show you this. I know you guys have seen this kind of broadening pattern I've been talking about, and this is held so well here. But if you look, I just did some work a little while ago, adjusted some lines. But you have an even bigger broadening pattern here, and look at how well you have the 2015 highs, the 2018 highs, and then the 2021 highs. And look at how it coincided with this smaller broadening pattern. I just think that's a fascinating chart there. But I think near-term crude probably holds up. I like this move up here. So you put in a low, then you made a move up. Now you're consolidating. So originally I said crude can get up to 75. It'll likely get through 75 at this point. You've done enough consolidation. And I think my near-term target here would probably be about 77.50. It will stall out at this red bar high around 78.65 though, just so everyone's aware. But I think it can probably get a bid next week now that quad witch is over with. It's probably just being held sideways to burn out premium over the last week or so. But I do like the pattern here on crude. Let's look at nat gas. Nat gas starting to break down just a little bit. I have one more dip penciled in on nat gas, and then I think we'll get a really good buying opportunity. The patrons already know where my level is on that one. But notice how you had this nice little tail candle bounce off of the 50 moving average. We played that to the long side, took a nice little gain on Boyle, 10% there in a couple of days, but pretty much reversed that all, just this week, pretty much reversed that whole move. But I think nat gas, again, kind of like platinum, has one more dip, and then we will have a really good buying level there. Let's cover uranium, URNM. So this is fascinating to me too. So you guys know I've been talking about the 75 handle. It closed below it, but I mean, let's be honest. I'm generalizing when I say 75. So 74.56 is kind of like the technical area here. Those are the pivots there. Closed below it on the daily, and then look at how they closed it, like literally right above that, right on it to end the week. If you look at the weekly, I mean, it's like literally right on there. And they never make it easy. But I'll give URNM the upside bias for now. It did kind of, it did manage to hold, technically speaking. You did have a nice green bar reversal on Wednesday. But again, if it loses this area, it's going down to 60, and that's going to be a really solid buying area. CCJ, same kind of deal. It is holding up a little bit better. I don't like that you lost this green bar low, though. But if this starts to break down, this is your area. We're at 18.25. Denison, I think I've talked about this one also. About $1.15 to $1.10. That's where you want Denison if it's lower. But Denison's a little bit weaker than CCJ, just so everyone knows. I also talked a few weeks ago about Mosaic, some of these potash stocks. These are still holding up really well. MOS here, got a little overbought, pulling into the 20 and 50 MA on the weekly. You've got a lot of support here. So you started to break down, reversed. Then look at all this inside bar, bearish, all bearish. And then guess what? It failed. You closed above this. So that is a strong move. Mosaic is strong. Intrepid, same kind of thing. Although this, again, bearish inside bar failed. And now, you went, got overbought, pulling back to that 20-month moving average, getting a pop off of that. So these potash stocks are holding up reasonably well here. Just to give everybody an update on that. Anyways, to recap, so we have some major convergence, cycle convergence going on next week. And really this market is, you get the idea that we're kind of teetering here. One day everybody's bullish. We were all bullish here. Everybody's, we're going back to all-time highs. Then immediately the sky is falling. But a day before that, the sky was falling. And now, the sky was falling here, and now we're all bullish. And so this market's kind of teetering. It's like the sentiment is going back and forth. Advise caution right here. I think we're on the precipice of some type of major movement, in the coming weeks. But in any case, you want to look at, I highlighted XLF. So watch the fins, watch financials. Make sure you watch the semiconductors, and also keep an eye on the transports as well. By the way, take a look at this monthly candle on the transports. That is a monster topping candle on the transports. So, just keep these things in mind. Watch these leading indicators for clues. Anyways, guys, take care. Thanks for watching. Send me a like, follow me on Twitter, Patreon if you're interested, YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you give Jason a like. He does a lot of work for you guys and has a great service himself. Anyways, guys, take care, and I will see you all next week.